Welcome everyone. My name's Jeff St Laurent and this is the Tuesday live show. And today I'm going to talk about what is entrepreneurship. It's a tough word to say. It's an even tougher word to spell, but understanding the essence of entrepreneurship, at least from the way I understand it now, I feel is an important aspect to the long-term success of your coaching business. And also in terms of what you're bringing to the market as in terms of what you are offering and selling. So I want to share a little story and then share a little bit about my version of what entrepreneurship is. And hopefully, like I said, it's going to help you understand kind of your perspective and your place in this world of entrepreneurship with your coaching business. Before I get into that, I do record all of my live shows. I put them in my university on my website, sellingcoaching.com. So go ahead and check that out. I help coaches transition to a full-time business, helping you with the structures, systems, and strategies to get your marketing out there so you can get paid, so you understand and you know what you're doing in your business, so you can create a long-term sustainable business that pays you more than enough for your lifestyle that you want to create. With that being said, if you want to start off right on the homepage of sellingcoaching.com, you can enter your name and email. That's going to put you in my email community. It's also going to get you a audio training called Launching Your Full Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. So go ahead and check that out. And now let's talk about this topic of entrepreneurship and what it really is. And it was interesting, a couple weeks ago, my son he had some, I think, leftover Halloween candy. And he had some, candy there. And he was at school and a couple of his friends said like, oh, can I have some of that candy? And he's like, no, I want it for myself. And then I was like, well, I'll give you, a couple bucks for it. And he's like, all right. And so he, gave the candy out and made a couple bucks. And then he's like, oh, interesting. And so then he got the idea. He's like, well, maybe, he's like, what if I brought some candy to school and sold it for more than I paid for it, right? And so he actually, my girlfriend and him went to the store, CVS. They picked up some chocolate and things like that. And he had spent $8 on chocolate. And the next day he came home and he had made $17, not in profit, but he sold all his chocolate and made $17, right? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, And I'm like, so what was your profit? He's like, I made $17. And I'm like, no, you didn't make $17. I'm like, what were your expenses? He's like, $8. I'm like, oh, okay, right? So he made $9, right? But the cool part is he started to understand like, oh, I can do this. And to me, as soon as I saw that story, I'm like, that's a perfect shining example of what entrepreneurship is. And I'll say it a bunch of different ways, but then I want to say it in a way that's I believe gonna help you the most with your business is, to me, entrepreneurship is creating something from nothing. It's taking something that you have and selling it for a profit, right? And it's seeing a need in the market, a need in the market. In this case, in this, little example is, all right, well, he's at school and he's got chocolate and his friends are like, oh, I'm willing. I'll take that. I'll buy that from you. There's a need. And he's like, all right, well, what if I did this again and sold it and made some money, right? So that's filling a need. So that's the true essence of entrepreneurship, is actually seeing a need and coming up with or providing a service or a product that can satisfy that need. And I think that was well highlighted in that example. And now if we relate this to what we're doing as coaches, it's quite different. And this is why I believe entrepreneurship and selling from a foundational standpoint is similar across industries. However, there are some fine nuances across different industries as well. Coaching is a very fine distinction from a physical product. In this example with candy, right? There's an associated value with, let's say, a Kit Kat bar, depending on what size it is. And people are only going to pay so much because there's a market for that, right? Well, if I went to the store and I bought a Kit Kat, right? If I bought a box of these, roughly would I pay $1? Sure. Would I pay $2? Maybe. Would I pay $3? If I really wanted it. And anything about that, you're like, there's no way I'm paying $5 for a little Kit Kat. Although, although, if you go to, a baseball stadium or any stadium or the airport, you very well might pay $5 for a Kit Kat or for a bottle of water, right? So again, there's a need and there's a certain situation where like I was in the airport the other day and I paid $12 for a stupid sandwich. It was, but we didn't have anything else and we were hungry and therefore there's a need. They can charge more for something, but with coaching, it's very different because it's a service. It's not a tangible product. People don't know how to compare it with anything else, to something else that's similar to it. And that's what people are always doing. A great example of that is if you look at the clouds and you're like, oh, an elephant, or oh, a dragon, or you see a shape or a smiley face. Our brain is always looking to make a connection to something familiar, something recognizable. So is there, an elephant in the clouds? Well, no, it's just the clouds look like an elephant and that's what our brain does. So we're in the buying process with our potential clients. They're always looking to relate this to something, relate this service, if you will, to something they've experienced. That's why coaching is often compared to coaching or consulting, to therapy or consulting or something like that. And there's similarities, but there's obviously major differences. But the point is that people don't really have anything to compare it or weigh it up against, especially with the cost. That's why right out of the gates when we're selling coaching, cost isn't important because there's no framework of it. There's nothing they can compare it to. And so that's why it's vitally important, especially here, is what's the value in the market for what we offer, right? And this is what I want to help you with in understanding what entrepreneurship really is for us, it's understanding our value that we bring to the market, right? With what we're offering, what is that value for a particular person? In other words, what is that person or that group of people going through? What are they experiencing that they don't like, that they're struggling with, that they want to change? And then what is it that they're willing to do about it and right now? And so remember this, even though our service of coaching is valuable, very valuable, it's valuable only for the person in a particular situation where certain criteria is met or certain needs or certain ingredients, if you will, are present. And this goes into some other things that I've taught in terms of selling, but it's the need that person has, their openness and wanting help around doing something about it, or interest in potentially you helping them with it, or learning more about how you can help them, and then the timing being now. We have to remember that if any one of those three things aren't there, what we're offering, while valuable, isn't valuable to that person right now. It's a big distinction. This is very important to understand this within terms of entrepreneurship, because this is how we get business, right? It doesn't mean that that person's not interested or doesn't find what we are doing valuable, but it's right now. It's all about the timing aspect of that. And so what I'm wanting for you to understand as we start to move forward and really understanding entrepreneurship is with the service that you bring, what is it that people are going through? What is their big challenge or problem? And it doesn't matter how specific that is. Like a lot of coaches, like, oh, we got to find a niche, we got to narrow it down, etc. Like, yes, that can be helpful. You can still be successful with a broader niche, with not as a less focused message, let's say that way. Regardless, it's understanding on some level within different circumstances, what are people going through where they might value what I offer. Even if they don't know or understand it yet, it starts off with us identifying that. And then, through conversations, it's starting to hear what people are saying where, oh, there might be a need, there might be an interest, right? That's a place in the market that we can fulfill. It's not really any different. It's different, but circumstantially any different from, my son at school when someone's like, hey, can I have that candy? He's like, I want the candy. They're like, oh, I'll sell it. I'll buy it from you. And realizing like, oh, there's a need there. There's probably other people who have this need. Not everyone's going to buy the candy every single day, right? Nor is he turning this into a shop. But The point is recognizing that need and then maybe doing something about it, right? So from us, it's when we have conversations, no one's waking up today going, oh, my life sucks, I need a coach, or like that just doesn't happen that way. They might say, this sucks, I want to do something about it, or I don't like this anymore, I need to do something about it, I don't know what to do, I need help. And right, so in those conversations, and as we get exposure to our audience and grow our audience and stay in front of them over time, it's opening up conversations or looking for opportunities to open up conversations where there might be a need for what we have or what we're offering. And it's our job to then understand more of where that person's at, what they're going through, where we could potentially take it to the next step, maybe ask them if they're open to learning more about how we could help them based on what we're hearing from them. And to me, that's the essence of entrepreneurship, right? It's understanding our value in the market in terms of who we can help, how we help them, even if it's on a broader sense. But it's through those interactions and through those conversations, it's discerning our value. And I'll say this, that can take time. It doesn't have to take time. From experience, I would say it does take time. It can happen quickly. Some people come in and they know. It's like some people go to college, right? And day one, before they even go to college, growing up, they know, oh, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm doing computer science, or I'm going to be a nurse, or I'm going to whatever I'm going to be, and they go down that path from day one. They have a major. And then there's people like myself when I went through college. It's like I had no clue, and like leading up until junior year. I started going to exercise physiology, exercise science. I was fascinated with the body and how it worked and functional human movement, things like that. Went into, training, personal training, fitness industry, etc. But with that being said, it takes time. Understanding your value, understanding what you bring to the market takes time. And that's an evolution with your business. And so I'm going to leave you with this as we're doing this today for a lot of you, entrepreneurship is new. Your business is new, and you've got this great thing, coaching, that you're passionate about. But as I always say, business and the skill sets of business are very different than the skill set of coaching. And especially if you've never been an entrepreneur before, or even if you have been an entrepreneur before, because of the nuances that are very different with this service that we're offering, that we're selling, if you will, understanding how those mechanics work and how we discern those needs from people, it does take time and it does take education. And that plays a role with the pace you can work at. It plays a role with the results that you can create over time. And so just be patient with yourself and set proper educated expectations so that you can stay in this game long enough to reap the rewards. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. This is a very, I feel, detailed and intricate subject that takes time to learn. So if you have any questions about it, you can certainly reach out to me from my website, sellingcoaching.com. I've got a lot of great programs, some of which are right in the links below with my 5-month program. So other than that, thank you very much for listening, and we will be back next week. Take care, everyone.